This
Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight on THEOSOPHIA Esoteric Studies, we have the podcast EDGAR CAYCE'S ARE of NYC with Lynne Miceli. Greetings, Lynne. How are you?
Great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal.
Good. Thank you, Hercules. My guest tonight is going to be Elliott Landy, a photographer, author, and a spiritual catalyst. Elliott was the official photographer of Woodstock and is best known for his classic rock photographs. His celebrated works include portraits of Bob Dylan. If you're in my generation, you probably had the album Nashville Skyline, and that's Elliott's work on the cover there. Also the band, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and many others. He's also a photojournalist who documented and supported the anti-war movement and the whole spiritual awakening that was taking place in the US in the late 1960s. His work has been exhibited and published worldwide, and he's the author of 9 books and the creator of Landy Vision, a new interactive software program that blends both still and moving imagery with music to create a new form of perceptual experience. And as fascinating as all of that is, we're not here tonight to talk so much about Elliott's amazing career as a photographer and author, although I think we will maybe talk about that if we have time, but to talk about something Elliott has been doing now since the 1980s. There's an energy Elliott is able to share with other people that he calls sharing stillness. So welcome, Elliott. Thank you for being here tonight.
Hi, it's really nice to be here and to hopefully talk well about this.
Can you explain for our audience what sharing stillness is?
Gosh, well, years ago, let's say in the 1980s, I'm 81 now, so however old that made me, I realized that I was, well, it happened like in parallel. I realized that I was different than the people that I knew. In general, I was calmer, and not meaning better, just different. And I thought, well, if I could share some of myself with other people, then maybe they would benefit from that. It's just because I observed how people reacted unnecessarily with anger, in different ways of being that we don't want, most of us don't want to have as part of our own personal inner selves. So I thought, well, if I put my hands near somebody, then maybe my energy would merge in some way, it would flow to them. Oh, I'm sorry. The first thing I thought was that I wanted to take problems away from people. I wanted to, if somebody was ill, I wanted to take their illness away. And then I realized that you don't want to take anything away, you want to give. So that was a major understanding for me, that it wasn't like I want to get rid of their energy. I just want to share what I can give to them. So the first time I did it was with I was on a small job, a small photography job, and there was a woman working also like that, and she had like a really bad headache. So she sat down in a chair, and I put my hands like close to her head, and I can feel the energy. Even when I do it now, I can feel it, but I just felt the vibration in my hands, and I was pretty sure it was affecting her. And afterwards, and maybe I did that for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And afterwards, I said to her, I said, how did it feel, whatever, she said, I don't know. She said, what happened? It was like, not only did it feel better, but she said, I had some kind of amazing experience in that sense, or unusual experience. So then I knew that my theory that it would work was working in that sense, that it was doing it. And I didn't do it publicly at all. I only, for many years, I only did it when I would meet someone like that who needed some help in some way, and then I would offer to help. But I didn't talk about it. I didn't do it. And then maybe, I guess, 10 years ago, I think, someone knew about what I did, and they were having a gathering with other people in someone's home, and they asked if I wanted it was a metaphysical spiritual group, and they said, did I want to show people what I was doing? So I did that, and the response was really good, actually. And this woman then said, well, I'll set you up if you want to do a session every week. I could set it up in a yoga center. So I started doing it every week, and people started coming. and the response I was getting was very positive. People were telling me that they were feeling energy and they felt good afterwards. And I think Lynn has a whole bunch of quotes about some people's responses. But I was uh, just let's see what. Wow. Then so people said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know," because I had no idea. It wasn't based on anything. It was just something. So I had no idea what I was doing. And I thought about it, and had seen the people's responses, and I thought, well, I guess I'm sharing stillness, like the feeling of stillness, the calmness, and so on. So that was what I said when someone says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sharing stillness." So that became the name of it. That's why I call it sharing stillness. So it's actually a verb. As well as a noun now, and so on. So,
Speaking of those testimonials or quotes, one of our mutual friends, Phil, who actually is the reason that Elliott got connected with me and with ARE of New York, he wrote this about his experiences and what he had seen with Elliott. He said, "My cruel anxiety and depressions will go away for a week or two following the session. I have seen a famous Hollywood director walk normally following a session at Elliott's Woodstock home before an annual Woodstock Film Festival event. The director told me, 'I feel better now than I did before my automobile accident of 25 years ago, which crippled me.' And a friend who was in physical therapy walked and talked normally immediately following a session of sharing stillness." And Phil also writes, "Elliott does not actually take credit for his work. His gift simply comes through." So he's describing both like emotional healing and physical healing resulting from sharing stillness. And what other kinds of things do people experience?
well, how I describe what happens is that when I project this energy, when I allow this energy to come through me, however you can verbalize it to describe it, I don't tell it what to do. I don't say, well, heal the left eye or the right eye or make this person a better person or whatever. I don't have, all I do is as I put my hands up, and usually, because it comes out of my hands in a way, but I don't think I need to do that. I feel that it comes out. And then the energy flows, and the people who receive it, for them, it's like putting fuel in a fuel tank, and they're the driver, or their being is the driver, their bodies are the driver, and whatever their bodies need is what the energy does. Because it's not a focused energy on anything; it's just a general energy, um, and brings, I guess, the esoteric. It's coming to me. The esoteric being of people. It adds something positive to it. It puts that in a good place, and they themselves are then able to manage their own situation. Let's call it, whether it be physical or whether it be emotional, mental. Um, but the energy is a positive boost. It's like a vitamin shot, a spiritual vitamin shot, I guess you'd call it. And that's I wouldn't call it a shot though. Dose is better. Or sip, a spiritual vitamin sip.
Some people seem to have, like they see things, or they seem to have like chakra openings, almost like visions, or maybe not almost visions.
Yeah,
Just
they do. Yes, they see colors. Some people, as I say, it really depends on where that person is and what they need, and also what they want in a way. So they may be coming to these sessions looking to evolve in a certain way to develop a certain part of their being. Um, and it's a really wide range of things, and wide range of things, and sometimes physical healings do happen, and that's quite impressive. I'm very impressed when that happens also, because it's just a really nice thing to be able to share with people, to be able to help people with. And what I think the main thing that happens though, beyond all the um, individual moments that go on, is that when you know the way to something, like when you know where there's a nice warm uh, pool to go swimming in or something, or a nice gym you want to exercise in, or a restaurant and so on, your life really takes that in. It becomes part of your life, and you go there kind of automatically. I want to eat someplace. I know that's a good restaurant. I want to go swimming. I know how to get there. So what this energy does is that it introduces people to its vibration. Energy is a vibration. It's a form of vibration, I feel, and it introduces people's bodies, people's being to the vibration, and then and that vibration is attractive, so you start to unconsciously uh, change, and the things you want to happen in life can happen for you. The spiritual evolution, being open to sensitive to sensations that we don't ordinarily experience. So it expands people. It becomes part of people, and it's like finding a new address that you like to go to in a way. Um, and so it's really sharing a vibration. Edgar Casey talked about, he had a beautiful quote that I should have had with me, but I don't. But he said that there is no change, no healing without a change in vibration. And that's what I perceived this to be. Before I read that, I understood that, I guess I was seeing, I understood that it was a vibration that that's part of your body, that's part of your being. Like when you have for instance, one time this happened to me. Someone bumped into me kind of purposely on the street just to be nasty. It was a guy. This is like probably 25 or 30 years ago. I remember this, and I thought, what a weird thing to do. I didn't get angry at all, but I use this as an example because when something bad happens to you, something you don't like happens to you, you can choose to feel badly for the person that had to do that, number one. Number two, you can just face the next moment in life and not stay with it. That's what turn the other cheek is about. If you get angry and if you stay with it, you anger and you want to get mad and you want to get back at them, you want to yell at them or whatever happened, then the next moments in your life are ruined also. So, and whether you are able to let the negative go right away and not want to be part of the negative vibration and just want to stay solidly in the middle on a positive vibration, um, that's something that your body has been trained to do by your life experiences. That all the time you've grown up the way your parents have been, and not only the way your parents treated you, but it's the way they think. Because when we're young, we absorb their vibrations, we read how they are, and as children grow up. This is my example. This is what an adult does or thinks like or feels like. So being exposed to this vibrational energy that comes through me when I do it, or any kind of really good meditation, any kind of deep meditation, it's a similar thing. I don't know if it's the same thing because I don't know what the deep meditation is, and I don't know what my thing is, but it's just this is what, in my opinion, meditation is about: is immersing yourself in the essence of life, the allness of life. I call it the life energy that we're all part of. And I see us as I first, when I first began to see this, um, I thought of people as fish in a fish tank, and somehow they're all communicating with each other in some way. They're not bumping into each other, and they're all coexisting and whatever. Some are eating each other, um, but they're all there. And none of them are really aware of the water itself. So I thought of people that we are part of the same energy form, a large, huge energy form, that we're just differentiated from each other and differentiated from animals and differentiated from trees, but we can still perceive what these other uh, existential beings are, whether they're movable, whether they move themselves or not. Um, so I call that the allness of life, that energy field that we're all a part of, that are
So,
small particles. Yes, Caitlin.
Elliot, you described how you first started to do this, and that you initially did it one-on-one with individuals, and then you started doing groups in this lady's home. But it has developed beyond that now because then the pandemic came along, and we started doing it online, and you wondered at first whether that was going to work, whether doing it over online, whether the people would receive it or not. Because do you remember you did a test with your friend in Hungary, on Andres?
Yeah, Andras, yes.
Andras, yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you want to,
Well, no, go ahead.
okay. Well, when what happened was when I first started to do it just with some friends in a group, and then I just was doing it every week really, and it was always, there was always no charge for it because I don't want anyone who could benefit from this not to be able to have it. And then there was always a donating available, but very little donation ever was given. Um, uh, Even though people were really having great experiences, nobody thinks about that. Um, and so I was just doing it, and it was really nice. And then COVID happened. I would do it once a week, and in person is really interesting to do it also. I learned a lot of stuff. Like at some point, I lay down on the floor and I meditated. Oh, I always had people in a circle around me, and that's right. And I was at side of the circle, and then when I did the energy, I walked in the middle, and I went around to every person. That's right. Wow. I did it first to the whole group from kind of the edge of the circle, and then I went around behind every person. They were sitting in chairs, and I'd go and put my hands near them. And then after that, after I got through with everybody, I would lay down. I started to lie down in the middle of the circle and go into a meditative space myself. And I had no idea why I was doing that, or even whether that was working or not, until I got direct feedback from people. They said, boy, when you were down, they were just feeling that energy coming up and so on. But I wasn't focusing on having it come up. I was just putting myself into a deeper space, let's call it that. So then, so I enjoyed that. I liked the personal connection and contact. But then the pandemic happened, and my wife and I were just being very careful, were all being very cautious about that. And I didn't know, I thought, well, maybe it would work over Zoom. I had no idea actually whether it would or not. It seemed kind of too unbelievable that it would to me. Not too unbelievable, but it was a fetch, let's call it. It was far away. But finally, so I did it with a couple of people here and there, and we saw that I saw that it was working, that people said, yeah, they were feeling it. So then I started to do weekly groups on Zoom, and it's amazing how powerful it is. It's amazing how really strong the energy comes through over a situation like this where we're not connected by anything physical whatsoever. And to me, it's where we go in sharing stillness is the allness, become part of the allness of life. And to see that it works over Zoom or something like that, which there's no tangible physical explanation, subatomic particles maybe that we understand, but yet it does work. So there has to be another level of connectivity than the physical level that we're all aware of and what we're used to, for this to work over Zoom, let's say.
So
So yes, good.
you connected with ARE of New York, which is the Association for Research and Enlightenment of New York. And we started, ARE of New York, which I'm connected with, started sponsoring your weekly sharing stillness on Thursday nights. And what you were describing of first sending to everybody and then sending to each individual and then lying down on the floor, basically you continued to do the same thing, didn't you? With
Yes.
when you
Yeah.
were by Zoom.
Yes. When I do a sharing stillness session, I start the session by just doing a general energy projection, we'll call it. And then, when I feel like it's enough of that, then I'll focus on each person personally. So I would say Lynn. Oh, and I also say their names. And I was worried. And by that time, everyone is really in a deep space. Not everyone, but most people that are there are in a very deep meditative space, very quiet space. So I wondered at first, saying their names, is that going to disturb everyone else? Is it going to bring them out of a deep space into normal consciousness in that sense? But the feedback I got about that was not at all. That when most people said to me, when I heard my name, it was like a bolt of energy and that came to me, and no one ever complained uh, that hearing anyone else's name bothered them. And I feel that there were different people there every week. Many people came off and came the same, but it was usually a different mix of people. And I feel that while I was projecting energy, let's say towards Lynn personally, that was the energy that would also benefit the rest of the group. That there was a holistic connection of who showed up that night, and the holistic, which was kind of, it's like different ingredients in a stew, really. And and the people that came, the energy that went to them there, when I focused on them particularly, was also good for everybody else, and sweetened the stew, we'll say, like that. Um, but and be that true or not, nobody is complaining. Very few people. I guess someone complains. I don't know, but it seems to work. It seems to be good. Um, and then recently, I just started vocalizing a little bit, not just like sounds would come out. Um, and people comment on that's also useful, which uh, I mean, it's to a metaphysical uh, aware person, it should be obvious because there's sound healing and there's music and musical healing and all this. But I just never it never um, um, it never showed up before. Let's say before the last couple of months, I guess that's happened.
Could you describe sort of the agenda of a sharing stillness? What happens?
Oh, you mean yes, when in a session. Well, um, the first like 15 minutes or so, I think I started at 5 to 7 every night. In the first 15 minutes, people always come late. So I used to start at 7 o'clock, but now I know if I open the gate, so to speak, the meeting at 5 to 7, and people come in and can just chat about anything. It doesn't have to be whatever they want to talk about, hi, how are you stuff and what's happening. And then usually at 10 after 7, I just start the energy projection. And I do that until 8 o'clock. I actually have a little clock in front of me for some reason. And people are pretty deeply in there. And if I let it go and just kept going or even walked away a little bit from it, I think people would stay in longer than that. But my own physical life is limited, let's say. Uh, and I feel that I also want to talk about it because I don't know how people are feeling until I get feedback afterwards. So I can't tell. So the feedback is nice to get, but people describe what they experience and they ask questions about it, and I tune into it, and other people, the people that are there, um, also tune into things. I really like it when people get a feeling about things. There are some really, really uh, clairvoyant people that come, and sensitive people, normal people that have great insight. By normal people, I mean they're not saying I get guidance from a guide or something like that. That's not even by normal people, people just thinking normally, but from their everyday life experience. And it's a wonderful, wonderful conversation that I'm always surprised by, almost always surprised by, and I think, wow, that's so great. I really should publish that. I mean, I'm doing, uh, I will be making a book out of this and maybe releasing some of the recordings. Of course, I recorded everything I did with this. Um, but such magical understandings and words and synchronicities happen, and serendipity goes, and people describe this, and so it's really a very beautiful insight into life. And some sessions I'll be just kind of sitting there saying, oh, this is just not going anywhere, fantastic, it's just people are talking, whatever, and suddenly it happens and something comes up, and there's a beautiful insight that everyone, in my opinion, can benefit from knowing and from hearing like that. So, um, so it's the first 50 minutes is just a very deep, quiet meditation, and after that, for as long as it lasts, usually it's 45 minutes to an hour. is the conversation. And then when that kind of dries up, um, I I leave the computer on. I tell people this, of course. I leave my computer on all night, and I feel, and I start off by just projecting some energy, and I feel that the energy just keeps going all night long. And then I leave after 5 or 10 minutes because I can't stay there because of other life things I'm doing. Um, but I feel that the energy keeps coming through the computer. And people tell me who come to the meetings and so on, tell me that they leave their phone on, they leave their computer on, and there's no sound at all. I mute everything, so they're not. So it's just the energy that keeps flowing through. And I just thought that that might work. And the feedback I get is, yeah, that it really does work. That it helps people sleep better, and different good things happen.
That's one of the things that's kind of amazing, that even after you finish actively projecting the energy and go away, maybe go to sleep or whatever you do, um, the energy still seems to be there, and you leave the computer on and people are still in front of their screen or whatever, and they seem to still be receiving it.
Yes, yeah, I would say absolutely they do. At least they feel they do. The positive, the result, and then I go back every so often. So I leave the computer, and then maybe 20 minutes later I'll come back in front of it, and I see who's there because I see people's names on Zoom, and I project some more energy, sometimes to individual people, and then I go away again doing what I need to do, and then I come back sometimes a third time. Once in a while I wake up at 3 in the morning and go downstairs, and if I wake up at 3 in the morning, maybe feed the cat or whatever. So I go over there and I do some more energy, and sometimes I don't touch it. I leave it for the whole night right away. That's rare. I usually always come back a little bit to kind of give it a boost on what's happening.
If you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go and look at the computer, are there still people there?
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, there are. Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't,
I assume they're sleeping and resting and so on because I just see their names. Actually, some people leave the camera on too. So I just see a dark shadow, like that.
so not only that, but last year when you went away to France for a week or
Oh,
two,
right, right. Good. Thank you.
and
That's
you
fine.
weren't actually doing the sharing stillness,
Right.
you had recorded
Yeah.
sessions sharing
Yeah.
stillness that a couple of your associates, friends, put online on Thursday nights instead of instead of you in person.
Yeah.
And apparently that worked too.
Yeah. Yes. That was my next phase in the evolution of this. Because I see this as a very important teaching for people, and is a teaching, it's a vibrational teaching. It's not a teaching. Well, it comes along with a worldview with it, but it's a way to learn a new experience of something. Like when you experience a flower for the first time and smell it, and a beautiful smell, let's say, whatever. So that's a new kind of experience. So I feel that this vibration that comes through when I do this work, and also it's the group that does it also, because once you're in the circle, I mean the circle of togetherness, then you're part of it too. It's your energy fields that are opening up and asking for this to happen. And so the energy responds to that as well. It's not only me doing it, it's the people that are there also receiving it. And wanting to receive it, and I guess altering it in some way, altering what comes in. So anyway, so I wondered if, well, I know that I'm going to pass on at some point, and I wondered if it was going to be able to continue it. And I don't know, it occurred to me one time well, I always recorded my Zooms because I wanted to get what was said. People would ask questions, or I would say something, and it's pretty interesting. I feel it's pretty interesting information about the nature of being, I'd call it. So I recorded everything, and that included a camera. So I thought, well, let me see. I wonder if the recordings themselves will work without me being there, which would be fabulous. So this year, I tried one or two. I had one or two recordings I gave to 3 or 4 people who got back to me and said, yes, we felt it in just the recording. There were people that already went to sharing stillness. Um, I was away for 6 weeks. I would do it every Thursday. and I was away for 6 Thursdays last summer going to France. Um, and I gave a friend of mine a few of the recordings, and he played them every week. I don't know if it was the same recording every week or didn't ask him that. And when I came back, I asked people, who in the group, if it was the same. How was it with just the recording? Um, and one woman said, this is my favorite response. She says, she says, I don't want to make you feel bad. She says, but it was almost stronger when you weren't there. Like that. And I said, no, that's wonderful. That's really great to know that. And so we said, why? And she said, well, maybe because there were no other distractions. You weren't there talking in the beginning, and other people, there was no conversation that went on. Maybe it was just you sat down, I sat down, she's saying, in front of it and just received it and did nothing else. Because when we have the session, there's 12 other pictures, 13, 15 other pictures on the screen, and who knows what's going to happen, what I say, and so on. So that could be why. And then another woman there who is a spiritual minister, um, who comes every week. Now she's quite lovely, an older woman like I am, older person. Um, and she has a lot of experience in this, a lot of in clairvoyance and in psychic and uh, psychic doings, let's call it, channeling. She's a medium. Anyway, she said that she didn't even realize that I wasn't there. It just seemed like she said it felt the same. She comes every week because of how good it feels for her, and she said she didn't realize that it wasn't me live. She said I thought it was the same as every week, like that. So. Um, Anyway, so I found out the recordings work, which is really, really, really wonderful for that, because that means that number one, it can go on. Number two, it can be experienced by a lot more people than I'll ever reach personally. It'll be there, it'll be available, just like popular music is available now. So popular spirituality, we'll call it, is aware. Yeah, so it's quite lovely to know that. Um,
I recall that at one of your sessions, one of the people who was there said that when you were projecting the energy, he felt his hand start to get
oh
hot.
yes, right, that's right, yes, yeah.
You encouraged him to try doing some healing with his hands.
Oh, yes, yes.
Did he try it, and did
Thank
he?
you. I don't remember that particular instance, but here's what, it's you very good you mentioned that. When people have physical illnesses or emotional things they want to work on. So what I say to them is that and because I only do that one session a week, and I'm not available I can't do private sessions. I mean, I can't, meaning my life is filled with stuff. And right, I mean, if someone I know needs help, I'll do a private session, and it doesn't have to last very long. Either 5 or 10 minutes is all it takes for that, 5 minutes even now, for the basic energy to come to them. So what I say is, anyway, if a person wants to do it not in a session, I say, remember what it feels like to be in the sharing stillness session. And remembering what it feels like brings that vibration back to you. I say, because it's not my vibration, it's a vibration that exists in the space that we all share, the space that we all live in. So by remembering what it feels like, you're bringing yourself into that vibration and being able to utilize its power to help yourself do whatever you want to do. But it takes work. I'll say this about how much work it takes. Um, and it doesn't mean hard work. It just means willpower work. Um, let's see, 20 years, I think, before I started to do sharing stillness publicly, I met a really clairvoyant woman, um, from Sedona, Arizona, actually. This was in New York and so on. We had a past life connection. We were pretty certain, actually, about that. It seemed natural, and we were just having conversation. Um, And I said to her, and she was really evolved in this area, and she was a medium and did lots of, this was her business, so to speak. This was her way of supporting herself economically. There's never a business for any of us doing this, Lynn, myself and people. It's not, I can't say any of us, but certainly the business is the money is a way of allowing the flow to happen. Anyway, so I said to her, I was asking her about the healing work I could do, and she said, "Well, why?" I said, "Why can't I do really powerful healing work?" And I said, she said, because if you were to, what's he say? He said because the energy that would come through you if you were to do that would shock your nervous system apart. It would it would destroy your nervous system. That you're not ready to channel, to pass through that kind of powerful energy. And I said, well, when will I be? She says, probably 20 years. Like I said, oh my God, 20 years. Now it seems like no time at all looking back and so on. But so it takes a long time, and I don't know if I communicate strongly enough to some of the people who come to the session that if you want to be in this healing level for yourself and for others, that it takes a long time of wanting to do it, and just the willpower really, and doing whatever practices you want, whatever kind of yoga you want to do, whatever kind of mind meditation, whatever kind of mantras, whatever works for you. It's different for everyone. Everyone has different. We like different foods, and we like different mental foods also. Um, so what I have to say this clearly now that I have seen this long. What I say, my sharing stillness. That's the words that come to me, and I don't mean to personalize it, but the energy form that comes through me when I do this stuff, okay, brings people to a very deep. Not all people, but brings the people that vibrate with it, that it works for, brings them into a different state of a very sorry brings them into a very deep state of meditation, a very and it's not any one particular kind of meditation. It's different for different people, but the idea of meditation is to, I think, generally all meditations, I would say all except one or two, of course. One never knows about the word all. But the idea of meditation is, and what I explain to people in sharing stillness, is right before I start the energy transmission, I say, try not to think about anything. And if thoughts come to your mind, realize you can think about them later and just drop the thought. Don't get into thinking. And the reason for that is that we're all part of this energy field, let's say, and our physical life, our physical senses, our experience is what occupies our brains full time, all the time. We're aware of ourselves physically, and the the essence of life, the very basic energy, is different than what we experience as our physical energy is. And in order to divest ourselves, to get rid of our connection to our physical energy, we have to stop thought. We don't have to stop thought, but if we stop thinking, we allow ourselves to kind of float into the underlying essence of life. And that is the meditative state. That's the state. And when you're in that underlying essence, then you can uh, perceive other things. You connect with other things. I know of groups that are trying to uh, contact alien intelligence like that by doing group meditations together, um, or by you could work on healing yourself by not thinking. So meditation, I think the goal of most meditation, whether it's a mantra meditation or whether you've got a secret word, a special word, special name that you use, or whatever it is just a way of stopping critical thought, stopping thinking and evaluating your life and being aware of your life. Um, and recently I gave an audio, a recording of my energy transmission in one of the sessions to a friend of mine. And he was supposed to get back to me and tell me about it, but he didn't. And just a few days ago, I wrote to him and I said, well, what did you feel? He said, oh, he says, I don't know what I felt. I said, I wasn't unconscious, but I wasn't awake. And he really described, he says, I was just somewhere. I don't know where I was even. And he said, because he had no cognitive, no knowledge of what, no one, he never read about what it was like to be in a deep meditative space, really. And he was describing it, having being there. And so I was just very relaxed. He said, it was so great to be relaxed. I was in my chair. I was just so relaxed and so on. So that's why I say just, and he just wasn't thinking, and he said, um, I forget the rest of it, but um, so with this energy, some of this energy pushes you into this deep state of meditation, and people experience different things. Like Lynn said, some experience very bright colors and psychedelic stuff, and some people it's just complete silence and complete stillness and all that. But if you want to, I point this out, if you want to work on this and go further with it, remember what you feel like in when you're in the session, because that's your energy that you're feeling. It's not my energy, it's what happens to you. And with that, you can change your life. Uh, Serendipitous things happen for you. Life changes, but it takes time and it takes intensity. One man comes, he comes for 2 or 3 years now. He has glaucoma, I think, or something like that, where his vision is very blurred. And he says every time after sharing stillness, his vision is clear. He says it lasts for about a day after that, and then it goes back to normal. So I say to him often, um, well, why don't you try using it, practicing, and put yourself in the energetic space and focus to what your body tells you to do. Oh, here's another thing that I learned to use is that when something is wrong with my body, when I talk to it, I tune in. By tune in, I mean I quiet myself for a moment and I say, wrist be normal, for right wrist. I found out you have to be specific. It's not wrist, it's right wrist. I laugh because it's kind of, it's funny to think you have to talk to your body like that very specifically, but it helps. It does work. And other people who've tried it also say to me that it does work. I say, wrist be normal. Someone said, you can say be optimal as well as normal. Um, but I say normal because that's what I learned to do. Um, so that's another tip that works actually sometimes, not always.
I wasn't exactly sure what you said about the person with glaucoma. Did you say that after a session with you, the glaucoma, the blurriness cleared up for a little
Well,
while?
he's not totally blind, but yeah, it's he can't see well at all. Yeah, it clears up for a while. Yes, he says it lasts for a day or so, and then goes back to where it was. And
Right.
this has happened consistently. And also this woman who comes all the time now, this older woman like myself, uh, she's very clairvoyant, and she says that it could heal him, that and we talked about that, um, and but he hasn't taken to it and work on it. So you have to work on it. That's what I talk about, those 20 years. And it's not that I went and sat in dark corners and meditated for 20 years. It's actually furthest away. I don't actually meditate very much. Um, but it was always that desire. I always wanted it. It always like first in my mind and my being, to just want that. So basically if your mind stays open to something or wants something, um, and the reason I want it is to help people. Actually, it of course it helps me too because it makes me feel good, and I really like it, and I learn a lot of stuff from it. But the reason is because God, there's so much suffering going on, and if you can help someone, how nice.
Right.
Um,
There is so much suffering in the world.
oh,
So
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, good.
you mentioned that part of the reason that you record all the sessions is because you're planning to write a book about sharing stillness. So
Yes.
you spontaneously say things in the session that you want to remember when people like ask questions, and other people say things that you might want to remember.
Yes. Yes. Especially, yeah.
Right. But when, at least at the sessions that I attended, you told people that if they didn't want to be recorded, they could tell you that, and you would turn off the recording when they spoke, when they shared.
Yes, always, always. If someone doesn't, absolutely. And it actually has only happened once in 3 years I've been doing this. One person said, "Could you turn off the microphone?" And I did that, and then it was maybe for, and she said some really good things. I'm sorry we didn't record it. Um, and then, but yeah, the last thing I want to do is something that someone doesn't want done. So
Right.
that's kind of counterproductive to what I'm doing here. But then as she kept talking, so then she talked and then I was answering or talking, it was an interchange. So I told her I was going to record what I was saying. So I turned the recording thing on and then she wanted to say something again. And I said, just a minute, I'll turn the microphone off. I'll turn the recording off. She said, no, it's okay. You can record it. Like that, what she said. But yeah, so it's really important that, well, the most important thing for me is that people get something out of the session themselves. And the secondary, well, yeah, wow, that's interesting. And I can't say the most important thing because wow, because I see how valuable this can be. So it's really important to me, not only that people get helped while we're doing this, but afterwards. I mean, for long afterwards. Um, I see this as a, yeah. I see this as a helpmate to life, let's call it. Um, there was a thing Edward Casey said, I could probably look it up, but I don't have it, where it's a beautiful quote. And he talks about that there can be no healing except with a change in vibration. And that's very I know I've said this already tonight, but it's very meaningful to me because that's how I saw it myself. Before I read that at all, I saw what was happening, that somehow this energy came. It came and infused us all and changed us if we wanted it to. There's no forcefulness here. It's only soft and gentle and nobody gets hurt with it, or no one has ever, that I recall actually, anything bad happened like that. So it's very gentle. Um, and I just felt that. And then what he says basically is really interesting to me is, so your vibration has to change and then healing happens from within. He says something about the creative force within you flows or changes. And he said whether just a minute. Wow. Whether the healing is done uh, by the knife, by drugs, or by prayer, something like that, by mind. It doesn't make a difference. So the reason that's so important to me is that it's easy to believe that the only way to heal is spiritually or metaphysically and so on. But also he's saying that physical healing, like operations, he says by the knife, meaning operations, by drugs, or which is herbs, the same thing in his day was herbs and drugs, is also valid. So it doesn't matter, so that they're all part of something. Like spiritual healing, energy healing is not necessarily better than other kinds of healing. And it's really important for people in this field to remember that it's one option, just like the form of meditation that you use is one way of meditation, and some people don't respond to it. I mean, I don't have hundreds or thousands of people following what I do at all, but it does work for some people. Um, and that's important, that there is no better way, just different ways, as long as it's pure.
Casey was saying that the healing really comes from within you, and he said from the divine within you.
Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Other things, whether it's an operation or a medicine or whatever it is, kind of get the obstacles out of the way so that the what's
Wow.
inside you can work.
Oh.
That or stimulate what's inside you to
Oh.
work.
Very
So,
nice. Oh, I love that. That's a great way of saying it. You see, that's if, if that's recorded, that goes in the book. Because no, it's really beautifully explained, better than I was doing it. Thank you. That's wonderful.
can we talk a little bit now? Backtrack a little bit and talk about some of your other books, because I believe on the shelf behind you,
You
it's
saw
called
them.
Janice Joplin, which I
Yes,
have.
yes. Should I bring it down and flip the pages?
Well, you could show the cover.
Okay.
So Elliott has done a number of books of photographs of various different rock stars. And I think maybe that's the band underneath there.
Thank you, dear.
Here. Vision.
So as
Okay.
we said at the beginning, Elliott was the official photographer of Woodstock and continued to take photographs of many of the famous rock stars that we, at least people of my generation, remember. We don't need to show everybody the whole book, just the
Oh, oh.
pieces.
I'll just show you some color then. Oh,
Here's-
there's color here. Anyway, yeah, like this.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a great photo. Yeah.
So that's one book on Janis Joplin. And then I do many other genres of work in rock and roll. That was my first work. And I stopped doing that. That was about a year and a half, I think. And then like here's another book of the photographs of the band. Let's say this, the group of band.
So you got to know all these people somewhat, I
Yes,
guess.
yes, I did. I did. Because when I photographed, all I wanted to get was a good picture. I didn't want to get to know them. I didn't want to be buddies with them. Not that I was against that at all, but that was my mind. I was completely focused on getting a good picture and also not interfering with what they were doing. So whatever they would, I stayed out of the way. The expression is fly on the wall, not to be noticed and not to influence anything. And they liked that because it allowed them to be in their own quiet space when I was around, and so on. And this is my book called Woodstock Vision. This is available on Amazon or from me directly. And it's just it's two parts of it. One is about my life as a photographer. I started out doing peace demonstrations to help try and stop the Vietnam War, and then I got exposed to this kind of shopping pictures in it. I got exposed to concerts with light shows, and I felt that by showing pictures of these stars from that generation, these musicians from that generation, I was proselytizing to bring people into this new way of thinking, this new way of being. Smoking grass was part of that, and the camaraderie when we went down to the Fillmore East, which is where I did most of my pictures. You suddenly were friends with everyone. There was all the barriers were down. Let's put it like that. And it was all the musicians were against. All the musicians that I saw were against the war, and so they would talk about it. So against the war of Vietnam. So it was a very special time, the '60s, like that. And by publishing the pictures, I was there because I loved the music to start with, and the light show experience was phenomenal. And then I would publish these in underground newspapers, and I felt like that was helping to popularize the way of being that was part of the '60s music experience. And I've done many things since then. This is one. It's not. This is a proof cover. It's called Love at 60. And these are photographs that I've taken of my wife. Let's find a good one to show here. Over the years, and then here's a good one here. So this is one. And she then, after a couple of years of doing it, of pictures, she said, I have something that I want to write in the book. And I want um, to inspire women of a certain age not to be afraid to change their lives when something came. Yeah. Because we first knew each other in college, and then didn't see each other for 37 years. And then we met. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking for other pictures here. Um, Anyway, that's enough for now. The book's not out yet, but it's my next. I don't know if I showed this one already or not.
So this is the next one you're going to publish?
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
I've been financing my own books. I never could really find publishers that wanted to publish my books. Now I have offers and so on a little bit, but even now, I don't have a publisher with Love at 60. The people we've given it to. I have finished copies of it that we print on demand as samples, and I give it to some people. Just get great feedback. They start book clubs. Not they start. One woman started a book club around it with her friends. They only had one book, and they passed it around and so on. And Linda's writing is quite extraordinary, actually, and um, it becomes extremely meaningful, I would say.
Do you think that your uh, connection, well, like the book called Woodstock Vision, the whole title of it is Woodstock Vision, the Spirit of a Generation.
Yes.
I think tuning into that was like part of the preparation for you to eventually start doing this sharing stillness to be.
Oh, it was all part of it. My life, looking at my life now, I gotta was really a trajectory. Woodstock was a very spiritual experience. The 60s were very spiritual. People, a group of people were together trying to change the world and make it a better place and help everybody. And not everybody in the 60s was like that, of course. We were fighting the Vietnam War at the same time, but there was the alternative lifestyle movement, the whole Earth catalog, and spiritual books were brought in from the East, and books on and yoga began to be taught, and it was very spiritual. It was a spiritual doorway opening, really, and the festival became that. It became a super spiritual. Anyone who was there, well, almost anyone, never everyone, will describe the feeling of spirituality. Hang on one second. There's one other book I forgot to bring out since you mentioned that. So this is Woodstock, a spiritual moment in time.
That's the one I was.
And oh, okay, thank you. And it's available on Amazon for $15. It's 48 pages, and it's got a lot of really nice photographs in it. But I published this for the text, and I wanted to talk about the Aquarian age and the what was happening, what happened. Here we go. This one is Aquarian Age by Theo Gudinsky is the writer here. Then I have another essay about the Aquarian Age, and other things about the spirituality of the time, Ravi Shankar and so on. So it's a really Woodstock, the Spirit of a Generation, and I think it's $15 on Amazon. Here's something that Richie Havens I interviewed him one time. He was a friend of mine. So anyway, it's really it's a nice thing to get.
So
I'm sorry, what?
we have to wind down here.
Okay, so I just want to say, you mentioned Woodstock. I feel that like the guy Michael Lang, who created Woodstock, asked me to photograph it for him before the festival even existed, and I feel that was very meaningful. So that's why I said to him, I had an exhibition in the museum, and I told the museum, well, I was the official photographer of Woodstock, and I realized that's kind of silly because Woodstock and official don't go together. But anyway, I feel that's very significant for me because that was the 60s was such a spiritual time, and what we're all doing now publicly, I think, comes from there. That was the Genesis time for us. Okay, so to do things. So that's and all that just happened. It was my life path in a way. I've just flowed from one thing to another in my life.
Elliott, I love talking to you, but we do have to wind down. So
okay, thank you.
How can they reach you? How about your website?
Oh, my website is sharingstillness.com. Sharingstillness.com. And if you want to reach me, my other website, and so that talks a little bit about it talks a lot about sharing stillness, but I don't update it. I don't do anything with it because it's just another job for me to do. I have so many. I have 6 different genres of work that I'm working on. But you can go there and you sign up on the mailing list, and then you'll get invitations when I do the sharing stillness sessions. And then my music, my photographic website is my name, ElliottLandy.com.
And also, if people want to attend an online session of sharing stillness on a Thursday night, they can register for that on the ARE of New York website, which is www.edgarcaycenyc.org. It's by donation. And if you go to our homepage there's a slideshow of upcoming events. You can wait for the slide of sharing stillness to come up and click on it, or there are these little dots under the slideshow where you can move it ahead and get to the slide for sharing stillness and click on that and register. Go to the page about sharing stillness and read more about it. So, Elliott, you've had an amazing life, an amazing career or careers, and done amazing things. Thank you for being my guest here tonight and sharing all of that with us, including.
I have one thing to say, that I owe it all to doing only what I love to do. I was never able to do things just to earn money or just because I wanted success. I just followed what I loved, and when I didn't want to do anything, I did nothing, and I waited for something to show up. And so that's.
Followed your bliss. Thank you, Elliott. It's been fun.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And thank you both for another excellent episode. I'm inspired. I have neuropathy. I'm inspired now to tell my hands to be normal. So I'll try that too.
That's funny. Well, I also take impressionist flower pictures and mother and baby pictures and all kinds of soft stuff. It's on ElliottLandy.com under photography. You'll see the other genres. Really interesting, unusual photographs.
I'll put a link to your website on the promo.
2 websites, Sharing Stillness and Elliott Landy.
Thank you very much.
Please. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you both.